Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the world of WowieTalk. In today's episode, we're going to be battling Team Rocket and rescuing the Pikachu.
Pokemon Go.
Just kidding. This isn't about Pokemon. This is about ropes.
And learning them.
And learning
I'm sick.
them.
I mean, not sick.
Oh, welcome.
Wow.
Well, welcome back, Ro.
Yes.
You're not sick anymore, or not that
Thank you,
sick
thank you.
anymore.
I'm not that sick.
Ah, well, it's
But-
good. It's good to have you back, friend.
Thank you very much.
So
Okay.
today in the WowieTalk group chat, which is the best place on the internet, we frantically were discussing what. Not next frantically is a bit of a hyperbole, but we were discussing
Topic.
our topic, and Ro suggested learning the ropes or learning the ropes.
No. I want Sab back. I need someone to hit you.
She can't do it. But what do you? Yeah, learning the ropes
So-
and like how we learn to music and stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about this topic as, like we give lessons through Patreon Plug and like in general, and people learn music all the time in different ways. And like 30 years ago, if I wanted to learn guitar, I would basically have to go to some special school and lessons and learn classical, or it would just be a different ballpark, or, people sit at home and learn by ear. And I noticed a lot of people on YouTube in particular, sometimes myself included, like we forget to practice or learn more about our instruments because we get so used to like, I gotta make a cover. It's like we're addicted to recording
I am such a
YouTube.
victim of that. I don't practice as much as I should at all.
easily.
Tisk.
The amount of new things I have learned for my instrument is like eclipsed by production stuff, which in a lot of ways might be not as important. So I was curious what you guys think as far as like where you think your best resources have been, and then like at the same time
And
like your
resources for
suggestions.
like learning what we
Everything.
do.
Right, both music and from theoretical and performance point of view, as well as like recording and all that stuff. Because for me, I've gone through both formal and informal and self-taught, and have like unique thoughts on why each of those is useful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I said earlier that I don't practice as much as I should. A lot of jazz people like say, "Oh, you gotta be practicing like 2 hours every day and like learning all your bebop, Lydian, Dorian, Ionian, inverted, dominant modes."
Yummy
or-
modes. Yep.
Yeah,
Mods.
I mean, I know some of that stuff, but like, there's still a bunch of technical things that I can't do that some other people can do. Not that technical stuff makes you necessarily a better musician.
Shredmaster 10,000.
You don't need to be. You don't
have to be.
Julia.
You do not have to be.
Yeah,
But if you want to be, don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah, it just takes time to do. But I think the best like learning for me has come from just listening to to music, pretty much. I've always that's like one thing I've definitely kept up doing, because listening to music really like expands your like what you can hear in your head. Like in my creative process, I've always like thought of that it's hard to hear something in your head that you've never heard before.
Yes.
And that our creative ideas usually come from other stuff we listen to, and thus through listening to like other music like throughout my development as a musician, and applying that to my covers, I think I've still been able to like grow in that department, even though I haven't been practicing sax as much.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
I like the spiritual way of looking at music is I feel like it's 50% physical, 50% mental. Like
50%
Yeah, like-
memes.
yeah, 50% memes. It's like harnessing chakra or something. When I picked up a guitar for the first time, my biggest difficulty was physically holding the darn thing, like holding a pick, hitting it against a string, and like the physical nature of that. And then, as I studied with a small like store that my guitar teacher owned, actually. So he would give me like a mixture of scales and music theory, which I'm sure all of you guys might be familiar with, but those listening, there's a lot of quote unquote science behind the music and why stuff sounds good together, and it's really great to know. And I think it's not something you have to know, but it definitely improved my knowing. But it was always like physically getting used to that, and then being able to pick the notes mentally, like which notes sound good. So I was back and forth, listen to music, like you said, get influences, and then play the music itself. Listening to a record and then like trying to piece together guitar solos is how all of my favorite guitarists got to be where they are.
Yeah, that's
And
what
that's
jazz,
how I'm trying
that's
to.
like the tried and true path for most professional jazz musicians too.
Mm.
I listen to a bunch of jazz podcasts, and that's what like they all recommend, just like learning solos by ear.
Mm.
Is there any like specifics you remember like learning that really helped? Or
I mean, no, we're not.
we're not harmonizing.
No, I don't know, like a couple of Michael Brecker solos here and there, but like, I don't think there's any like necessarily any solo that like you have to do. It's more in like just the process of going, like the action of going through that process of like repeatedly listening to something and trying to copy exactly what someone plays, not just like transcribing the notes and then reading the notes off the page, which is what I used to do. But I think that that's not as helpful as some other sorts of things.
True. Now, Tara, you've streamed a few times your process, and I've also watched you do your process when you work on a new cover and you listen to like the originals and like can transcribe, and that's like a really foreign concept to me, I guess. Like, what do you think about all that as far as like your learning?
Well, I usually only transcribe if it's something that I'm not already really familiar with. But yeah, like I'll just take for example the Setsuna, the tuna cover.
Zesty tuna.
The cover that I'm working on right now. That one, obviously, like just started listening to the OST, so I wasn't really familiar with like what the original sounded like. So what I usually do is I do input MIDI in FL first, just to get a concept of like the structure and foundation of the original track, and then I deviate from there, and like I add extra notes or add extra harmonies, or I double a section like I did in Millennial Fair, or like go into lyric mode with like two Xanarkand. Like it's oh man, there's a lot of different things. And what happens is once I have the foundation down with like the MIDI, and I do all that MIDI by ear. I don't trust other MIDI on the internet. I don't know. I'm such a perfectionist that I know if I transcribe something and put it into MIDI, it'll be right. So I just try not to waste
MIDI writers.
I try not to waste time looking online for MIDI that might not be 100% accurate.
And it's a good practice, right?
Yes, it is a very good
great.
practice.
Let's go to your training.
Yes. Once I have that down and start recording, I get more ideas in my head as to what I can do to change it. So, man, I don't even know. Like, I just had the idea to actually use the viola as a solo instrument for once. So that's something completely new that I haven't done.
No, it's cool experimentation too.
Yeah, experimentation is also like, Toby Fox put out a tweet a little bit ago about
snap.
it was like how to get good at music, I think, and it was
I think
actually like a really like it was cool hearing that from him of all people, because Undertale. But he did.
Okay, go on.
One of the things that he mentioned, like it was number 4 or something, was just like experiment and just like just do stupid stuff with plugins you've got, or just like mess around with your instrument, because that often leads to some cool stuff coming out of that, even if like the specific project you're monkeying around in might not use that specific thing, but down the line, like you've created a new sound and now that's in your brain and you can use it in something in the future.
Yes.
I always hear people whenever they're not necessarily the most confident in, say, like mixing or some like tone making, especially for like us guitar people who have all these amplifier sims and stuff, and we have this like long chain before you hear what you hear, and there's so many options that a lot of people are just like, I want to plug and play. And as good as that is, I think the learning experience is to like take one knob on like your compressor and like squash it, you know, like take your threshold and drop it. How does it sound now? How does it sound before? Just like stuff like that really teaches you the practical like look at what your things are doing. Or like if you're using a tone with like say I don't know, like a Marshall amplifier or something, it usually gets you that like 1970s hairier tone. I realize I'm talking like to non-electric. Well, you should pay attention, Carlos.
Don't forget to shave your guitar, kids.
Don't forget to shave your guitar. But yeah, try switching out one thing and see what kind of a difference it makes, and see how you could, you know, use it. Like that kind of stuff isn't something you'll ever have a class on, I guess. Or maybe you will in audio engineering, but still. I find like musical experimentation can be both in like what you play and what you're using to play.
Yeah.
And it leads to like some really cool wacky sounds. Like reversing the sound of someone shouting gets you that like thing. And I use that all over sorry.
This episode is entirely reversed, and that part's the only forward part.
I don't even know what that would sound like. Well, I know what it sounds like forward. But in my last video, Jago's theme, I experimented with a lot of like sound effects to like supplement the production, so it sounds more like, I don't know, like have you ever heard of the movie House of Flying Daggers?
No, but that sounds scary.
It's a fighting movie from China, but it got like a lot of universal acclaim for its like sound production and the videography, and there's a lot of like layered snare hits and like big boomy stuff, and I never knew how to make a lot of that. But it's not like I googled like how to make whoosh and then just like went
how
for
to
it.
whoosh.
How to whoosh. I just thought about like the nature of the sound and like experimented, you know, time stretch stuff, drop it an octave, or just be weird. I think our friend Ryan Lafford's also really into that, just goofing until you find something that kind of works.
Oops.
Yeah.
Where you'd least expect it.
And then just
I think
kinda
that's
go
like a
from
good
there.
learning.
I just goofed by hitting my microphone with my head.
You know, you've hit your keyboard with your face before, and that seemed to work.
Yeah. Cloud.
Too soon.
You also
Cloud
hit the
Dooku.
mic. You and Sab
Cloud
both hit
Count
the mic.
Dooku.
Counts Dooku Land.
Oh no.
Oh god. Master Yoda.
No, but I agree with what Rose said. Like the same thing was when I'm trying to create electronic, like just create my own presets for like certain synths or whatever. Like
Yeah.
FL Studio is so intimidating that most of the stuff that it has, I'm like, I don't know what the hell this does. So how do you find out? You tamper with it, and then you figure out, this makes the sound more like a square wave, or this one's really starting to cut the treble, like the highs, and it's like that's basically how you figure out what that does, and like figure out what you like and what you don't like is just by going for it and just kind of. Yeah, it's gonna be really scary, but you should still do it because you only learn from it.
Have you ever, either of you, have you ever listened to another artist or musician or band or sound and tried to emulate it just for practice?
Yes.
That's all that I do.
It's true. Same.
Like
I
that synth on another medium took ages to get right.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. I think I saved that preset after you showed it because I was just like,
you just copied it from the screenshot I posted.
Yeah.
You should just have me send you the preset. You didn't have to go through and look at what is this, not that. Oh, it's a quarter turn off.
Carlos, is it so crazy that someone would look at a screenshot and copy things written down word for word?
I mean,
yes, I am.
We know people that would do that.
Anyway,
man.
Our friend 16 and Mono also is a really big fan of that. He's been really good at emulating the sound of Devin Townsend, who's like a progressive experimental rock metal musician. And I think it's like some people get scared, like, why would I want to copy someone else? I want to be me. But part of who we are is based on what we like about other things.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and that's not ingenuine, but you know, it's like once you decide what you love about something else and you copy it, there's probably going to be some things you don't love or, you know, won't do. And I think all those differences end up chipping away like originality.
Mm-hmm.
That got too deep.
No, I mean,
Because like, yeah. Go ahead.
I've crafted like a couple of different sounds in FL. One I used for Snowden Town. Actually, I took a preset that was already there called Vibrant, and it sounds kind of like a violin, but it had like too much vibrant. I had too much kind of like a nasal quality to it, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't really like fit in Snowden Town right now. So I tweaked it, and I kept tweaking it. And then finally I came up with something that I actually liked and wanted to use, and that's the final product that's in Snowden Town. So I have that saved as like another preset, one that I've done. So I haven't like done that often, but every so often I'm like, yeah, I don't like the you know, the one that comes with the VST or whatever. So
yeah,
I just, like,
I'm the same way.
it.
Like I monkey around with stuff, and I think one of the most frustrating parts is like knowing when to stop monkeying around, because like I keep doing it looking for that perfect sound, but deep down I know it's never gonna be there.
Right,
But
and you'll be happier with your variation of that perfect sound.
I guess so, but I mean, like if I had that sound, like that would be pretty cool.
It's like
You don't want to spend that much time
Tone chasing, is that a thing?
on it.
Yeah, I guess maybe it comes from guitar world, but tone chasing. Like if I hear the guitarist Pliny, or Periphery, or Steve Vai, or any of these like people I'm really into, and I'm just like, oomph, that tone, and then I'll just like hop into Bias Effects plug, and then just like keep on looking up what they use and like tweaking and try to sound like it. But as the age-old saying goes, and this is gonna make like one person cringe, tone is largely in the fingers.
I asked Rich about that, like what that actually meant, and I was like, wait, so is it like the way you put your finger on the strings? Is it like the thickness of your finger? Because I thought when people said the tone is in your fingers, I thought they literally meant it was because of your fingers.
In a way, that actually is how I interpret it. I mean, Rich has a very like obvious, I guess maybe to me, different like level of pushing down, and his finger shape is different. So as a result, he has dainty, beautiful.
That
little
actually
fingers.
matters. I thought it was.
He picks softer,
should.
so the dynamics of his picking into his guitar, and then of course the guitar itself. But it changes the entire level of the signal.
Like think of the difference between if Ro were to play something, and then I were to play something.
On
or that.
What?
on like I guess even acoustic, but more like I guess electric or
True.
acoustic, because like my fingers, like I'm not cut out to be a guitarist. Like I'm really not. My fingers are
In
just
time.
they're so small, and
There's people without fingers that can play guitar.
oh my god, let's not go there.
It's called MIDI.
Oh man.
Too soon. But yeah, no, that
But it
is
does make a
something that
difference.
factors.
Yeah.
The hardness of how you pick is actually really, really important. And like note choice, which all of us have, you know? How would you play 4 notes if I gave you them?
But that's not like.
for a
But that's not
cover?
like physically the fingers though.
Okay, right. Okay. But back to the physical then.
Yeah,
Then,
okay,
the amount of
okay,
you pushing
okay,
down on
okay.
your left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that being said, obviously I'm not bashing people for having wanting nicer equipment, blah blah blah. That's a different story. But so learning. So in the past 3 to 5 years, I think that sums up our YouTube-ness.
It's only been
probably
That's been
I
that
started
long.
4 years ago.
I mean, I would just say, just
short.
know, like, we started off pretty much
Shit.
the same way.
Awful.
We were bad.
Like using the original as the backing track. You
Okay,
know,
I never had
and,
to do
like,
that.
just
I used drum
not
loops.
deviating from the melody at all. Not like using any theory knowledge at all
Playing
to like
in my
harmonize or like
Not using
I
a
don't know.
saxophone.
Putting We Love Grant Kirkhope in the video.
Oh my goodness.
Every collab I have with Carlos, except for maybe the last one, was horribly produced. The guitar sounds so bad.
Well, this is
It's
why we
okay.
learn.
It's okay.
We're
It's
all
okay.
still learning.
Tara and my most popular song on iTunes was literally a cover she already did, stapled onto a cover I did in like 2 days.
The
we're
Dragonborn comes.
Yeah.
That one it's still doing pretty darn well on like iTunes and Spotify, and it's really funny to me because that was like 3 years old.
We'll rectify that one
Yeah,
day.
we better.
I mean, what? Foreshadowing. But yeah, okay. As far as like the advice, closing thoughts on learning, I think having a teacher, and particularly just having a way of finding, or motivation if you can't afford one, to like listen to a lot of music and then learn it. Practice your scales and basic stuff for a few minutes, and then find what makes you like happy about it. Because it's like exercising. If you can run,
You can't hide.
You can't hide. I don't know.
Make yourself uncomfortable to become more comfortable.
Yes.
For a good time, watch WowieTalk. Video guides are also really, really useful.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
YouTube it's never been an easier time to get into playing music and recording music. And also ask people to listen to your stuff, and find good friends who are brutally but clearly constructively honest. If something sounds bad, they should tell you it sounds bad and why.
It sounds bad, and why?
Why?
Why? Oh, that was a. I found my voice.
I lost. Oh my god.
Where did you learn to do that?
Mario Party.
Mario Party is the teacher of all of us, folks. That's all we've got for you.
Yep.
Go learn.